Skoda Superb 1.9 TDI engine. This is the first generation of Skoda Superb 3U model. It's a sister car to Volkswagen Passat B5, and today we're going to replace the cambelt and water pump. I'm going to show you how to do it. So now let's open the bonnet and see what's going on here. That reveals 1.9 TDI engine, PD engine. Unlike the Passat, as you can see, grille goes up with the bonnet, so that will make our job easier. If you have a Passat, then there are plenty of videos on YouTube how to remove this grille, and then you remove the bumper. So let's remove the bumper first. To remove the bumper, you got 3 bolts here on the front. And then on the inside, as you can see, we jack up the car, use stands, remove the wheels for better access here. So you get 1, 2, 3 bolts on the inside, and one that goes like vertical up from here. These bolts are T20, 3 on the side and 1 here. Now we take T30, those were 220, this is 230, and we take this 3 bolts out. There will be 3 more bolts at the bottom. This car is missing 2 of them. We have only 1. It's on this car is 10mm bolt, but it can be different. It can be Torx. So not all bolts in these cars are original, but you got the idea. Remove 3 bolts at the bottom, 3 bolts at the top, and the bolts I showed you there. Now, if you have any fog lights or parking sensors, before you drop the bumper down, disconnect the any connectors. But as you can see, it's all good now. We can remove the front and put it somewhere safe so you don't scratch it. Next thing we want to do to remove bumper, this is your actual bumper metal thing, and it's held on 4 bolts. If you can see from this side, have a look. There's 2 at the bottom, Torx, and then at the top as well 2. So it's 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, 4 bolts, and there's also supposed to be 1 nut. Come from this side, have a look on this one. There's supposed to be 1 nut here as well, but it's missing. We'll take T45 on a long extension and then take this bolt out. So this bumper is held by 3 bolts. Force doesn't hold it. With the last bolt out, this car is missing 1 bolt, so you get 3 on one side, 2 on the other side. You can remove the actual metal bumper. So as you can see, this was held on 3 bolts on each side, and there's supposed to be a nut, but it's missing as well. On this side and on that side as well is missing. This bit here is the bit that cools your power steering fluid. Normally it's attached by bolt here, so if your car is still virgin, so undo the bolt, but I'm gonna undo this cable tie to remove this. This is a cambelt toolkit I bought from eBay for like 39 quid. We don't need the whole lot, so if you want to save some money and buy something or borrow, you need the crankshaft locker. You need 2 pins for the, actually 1 pin, because it's only 1 camshaft. 1 pin for the camshaft, pin for auxiliary valve tensioner. If you need it, you might get away without it. and 2 bolts that supports the front when we move the front out, so we don't have to disconnect all pipes or anything. We put these 2 bolts in here and then move the front out. What we found as a problem with this particular car here, this outer bracket for the bolt, it doesn't fit. It's too tight and it doesn't fit through here. So what we're gonna do, I'm pretty sure these bolts are pretty strong, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna put just the bolts and leave them on the bolts. And on the other side, we applied same bolt, 13mm bolt. Put it all the way in. There is another bolt, force bolt, we need to remove. It's not holding the bumper, but we'll need to remove it anyway. Because it holds the front lock carrier. Now we have left with these bolts that hold lock carrier, and there will be under this plastic bit there will be another bolt that holds it. And also, come here, I'm going to show you something. On this car it's missing, but if your car is in condition when it's not missing any bolts, there is a bolt here. You'll see that's your washer fluid, and yeah, it holds to locker carrier, so you need to remove this bolt, and then we'll remove these 3 plastics, and there will be another bolt that holds it. So let's do it. So we take our T20 and remove these 3 screws to remove these plastics. So with this plastic removed, not to lose any bolts, my advice, if you can put bolts where they belong so you don't lose them, so when it comes to put it back, they are there where you need it. So there is another bolt under these plastics. These plastics actually hold your bumper, so there's like clips, so bumper slides onto them. So if those clips are broken, sometimes you can see bumper sticking out. But let's remove this bolt that holds to a locker carrier. It's a T30 bolt, and you want to remove it. It's actually so what you want to do is, after remove these plastics, remove the bolt on this side and come here, and the bolt on this side, which is missing currently on this car. So we'll see if we need to remove this bracket, this metal bit, because that the other end holds to this bolt. We'll see if we need to remove it, we remove it, but so far we'll leave it. Right, what we have here now, it's held, front is held by 2 bolts. One is on this side, another one on this. Also we have this rubber string, and also we have the air filter intake. So normally you'll get like 3 bolts here holding it. If you don't have them, so what we're doing here, we're undoing these few screws, remove this top cover of the air filter, keep screws inside, don't lose them, and then you move this bit, and if you have 3 screws you undo them. If you don't, just take it out, put it somewhere safe, and then take this rubber bit away from the lock carrier. Now we're ready to remove these 2 bolts here and move the front. Happy days. So we take our T30 Torx screwdriver and remove remaining bolts. That's one. And another one on this side. Once I've done it, you can see it's moving the front, so we're gonna take it out. I'll put the bolts aside a little bit. Oh, we put them back in so we don't lose them. And now we are ready. As you can see, nothing holding to it. We can now, up to the length of this bolt, or as much as pipes will allow us, we're gonna move the front forward. Now what we need to do, remove these auxiliary belts. It has two, one for AC compressor, another one for anything else, alternator and fan and everything. So the one which is out, the first one to remove, is going to be this one for the AC compressor. It has got its own tensioner pulley, and it's held by two hex Allen bolts. That's one, and that's two. This bit in the middle, in the size of a nut, that's when you put it in, you put tension on and then tighten these two bolts. I have special video about this tensioner, so if you want, have a look on my channel. But let's remove this hex Allen 6mm two bolts. If I said you need to remove these bolts, ignore me. You don't need to remove them, just make them loose. Once you make them loose, you can see there is no tension in this pulley. Oops. Right? So this pulley, with this bolt loose, we'll lose it even more, you can go up and down, so you can take this belt off. Working out of the car, make sure you wear your glasses. Then you can take off this pulley and off the remaining pulley and take this belt out. Okay. So this is the belt number one. When you're going to refit it, make sure you refit it the same way. So you can either mark the direction with the arrow, or you can see the letters or numbers. In this case, they go away from the engine, bottom goes away, so we're gonna refit it so it spins the same way. It's kind of important so the brake belt doesn't break, it lasts longer then. So now we need to remove another auxiliary belt, and before we do that, while it's still all together, we will need to remove the fan pulley, and there's an 8mm bolt on the other side, just from here. You can either access it from, like, ratchet from here, or you can access it from here, whichever way you find it easy for you. And while belt is holding the pulley, it's probably good idea to make it loose now. Once you broke this loose, this bolt on the other side of the fan pulley, now we can remove the second auxiliary belt. Have a look on here. There is a tensioner pulley. Can you see it? Yeah. And it has 19mm bolt on it. It's not really bolt, it's just a part of the pulley. What you do, you apply 19mm spanner on the top of it, then you move it. As you can see, it's on a spring, it will come back, but now we can remove the auxiliary belt like that, and then we can take the belt off. With 8mm hex Allen key, I'm holding it from the back, and then I'm turning the pulley, and as you can see, this fan pulley becomes loose. It goes looser and looser, and now we can take fan pulley off in a minute. It's long. There we go. Fly to the sky. Yeah. Same story as with the other belt. Remember which side these numbers go, so it spins the same way, so you don't fit a different way, and it's just not good for the belt. Remove the belt. Next thing we need to do is remove the tensioner pulley, and it's held on, let me show you. Allen key here, we'll find out in a minute which Allen key, and 13mm bolt at the bottom. So we'll remove this tensioner now. We're not gonna do anything to the middle of this. We're gonna remove this 13mm bolt. At the bottom. We have removed this 13mm bolt from the bottom, so tensioner is not on a spring now. We're not gonna bother with this 6mm, I think it's 60mm hex Allen, but it's a bit too tight, so I don't want to wreck it, don't want to ruin it. It's not on our way. When we move this away, as you can see, there is enough space now for to remove the covers. Now we can remove these clips, one from the top, one from the bottom. And then take the cover off. That's the top cover. There will be bottom cover. Sometimes it contains two parts, sometimes it's on one. First we're going to remove this pulley, which is vibration damper. Now we need to remove this vibration damper pulley that spins your auxiliary belt, and it has held on four, as you can see, 4 12-star splint bolts. So we take our 10mm splint bit and undo those 4 bolts. You can't see it now, but yeah, I showed you where they are. So let's just simply, if you need to counter hold, you can counter hold with 19mm splint socket in the middle, or you can undo them, just undo them. So with the last bolt out, you can wiggle this pulley out. Sometimes you can sit tight, but this time it wasn't. So we put all 4 bolts in here so we don't lose them. I'll do it other side so they can stay there. Now, next thing we need to do is remove the bottom covers. They held on 10mm bolts like this. So there are 5 of them. 1, 2, another one hiding behind here. 2 at the bottom. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. I'm gonna take these covers out. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. 10mm bolts. This is what it looks like. The bottom covers, 2 bottom covers, 1 overlapping from the top each other, and 10mm bolts that hold it. Simple, just take them out. So here we are now with our cam belt exposed completely. We pull this on a string, the tensioner for auxiliary belt. I don't want to remove that middle bolt. If you do it, remove it. Then it's up to you to make it properly, but we kind of get away without it. So let's go to the crankshaft pulley and find the mark. Can you see this little triangle? That's the mark. It's inside the gap, see, between 2 teeth. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the locker. We have 2 types of lockers for the crankshaft. This is how they look. With the other side, on the other side, they have a pin that they go inside the engine block, and you lock it. And there are 2 types, as you can see. One is pointing on a tooth of the crankshaft pulley. Another one sort of in between teeth. That's the one we want to use because our triangle, our arrow, is in between pulley teeth. It's showing on the gap, so you need to mark with the mark. Simple words, mark with the mark. So if you have a mark on your tooth, then you apply this locker, so you match these two marks. If you have mark between two teeth in the gap, so you apply this, so mark directly matches mark. Okay, so let's put it on. So this is a tool we're going to use. I'm using simple brake bar and 19mm splint sockets, 12-sided. So that's what we're going to turn the crankshaft with. Turn it only clockwise. So by every 2 rotations of the crankshaft, you have only 1 rotation of the camshaft. So to lock the crankshaft, turn it clockwise till you see this teeth being on the top. So you need to bring this mark, the triangle mark, up there, and I think we will have to do nearly 2 rotations, because when it's come up there, this will be at the bottom. So this turns twice slower than that because it's twice bigger. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna apply 19mm splint socket and turn this clockwise. So have a look. We brought this triangle mark at the top. This is the hole where you put your pin in, and this triangle mark is at the top, but this window with the teeth is at the bottom. So we need to make another round, bring that triangle mark at the top again, so this pulley will be facing up. This teeth, will be facing up. So just before locking, to bring it up, make another round, but stop it just before locking point. I'll tell you why. So there is a mark on a locker. Apply locker on your crankshaft pulley just before you can put this pin inside the hole, and then you turn it clockwise. And then you turn it clockwise. Before it getting locked with the correct tension. That's it. Now it's inside. As you can see, arrow with a triangle. They are together. They're pointing on each other. Triangle in between teeth. Arrow goes in between those teeth on the locker. We're in a situation when the crankshaft locked in correct position. Now we need to lock the camshaft, and there's a little hole in here. As you can see, it matches like these sides, and that's the pin you want to use. That's a common type. You can buy them on eBay or something. So it should go all the way inside. This is what it does. If it doesn't match, you don't worry too much. Take the cambelt off, and then you can align it later. It won't do any harm. But in our case, it's all locked properly. Crankshaft with the camshaft. Now we can release the tension on this tensioner and remove the belt. So now we can loosen these 3 bolts on the side of the camshaft pulley. You don't need to remove them. Just make them loose. Like that. And also, not in the middle of the tensioner. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 13. In our case, it's 13. So we're gonna use the 13mm shiny tool. So we're gonna release this. If it doesn't spring back, you can take 6mm hex Allen key, put it into this hole, and help it to release. Now you see, it's all released, and you can take your bolt off, or alternatively you can take this guide roller out as well, because it's also 13mm nut in there, so we take it out so it's easier to remove. So take this nut off, and then you can remove the guide roller. This guide roller will come in a cambelt kit, so we can put this aside for a little bit. And then, now, with everything so loose, we can work out the belt of the pulleys. To take belt maximum away from the tension, you turn it anti-clockwise all the way. It releases the pin here, the hole for the pin. You push the pin that comes in a cambelt kit tool inside there, and now you turn it clockwise all the way it goes. In this position, you can tighten this bolt nut so it holds it. Just a sec. Just tight enough so it holds it in its place. In this position, tensioner is maximum away from the tensioning tensioning your cambelt. There we go.
Beautiful. Are you going to be here for like the next 10 minutes?
Now we can loosen this. It springs back. We take the pin out, and we can remove the tensioner as well, because we don't need it anymore. It's an old tensioner, and we have new one in our cambelt kit. And now we can take the belt of the remaining pulleys, which is a water pump here and the crankshaft. Crankshaft is locked, it's not turning anyway, so wiggle it out of there, and that's your old cambelt. Some cambelt kits, they come with new studs like this and that. Our cambelt didn't, so we're gonna leave the studs. Sometimes you can replace the studs as well. Studs, when to go to engine block, if I'm not mistaken, they are 15 Newton meters. Because I wanted to do it in one day. I didn't drain cool it till the last moment, but because we're going to replace this water pump, it's held on 3 bolts like this, 10mm. So before we do that, we're gonna drain the whole coolant. Some people take the water pump out, and as much as it drains through the hole in the water pump, but we're gonna do it properly. We have enough coolant, so what we're gonna do, there is a place here in front of the radiator, like here, so we're gonna turn it and drain the coolant. Before draining, open your coolant tank so air can get in. So take your pliers and turn this till you can. You see, that's your coolant coming out. There we go. We'll leave it like that. I think it's fast enough. Eventually it will all drain. Just leave it to drain. Now with the coolant out, we are ready to take the water pump out. It has 3 bolts on the sides of it. I'm not gonna show you everyone, or maybe I will. Yeah, 10mm bolts like that on the sides of it. Once you, and another one is just here, as you can see. So yeah, take these bolts out and wiggle pump out. It is a bit of a struggle. We took 3 bolts out, but it still sits pretty tight. So use all your power, all your force, and just wiggle it out. So I've moved it. As you can see, there will be more water coming out because we drain it only from the radiator. To keep the flow in the control, you can hold it with the pump a little bit, and then eventually you can take it out, and there you go, that's your old pump. Let's take our new shiny pump, water pump. It has a rubber seal around it already, so what we want to do before putting it in, use some grease on it so it slides in easier. Don't use WD-40 because it's not the one. WD-40 is supposed to dry things out and prevent rust, but the best thing to use on this ring is grease. And then we're gonna insert the new pump in where it belongs. So now with the water pump back in, you can tighten this bolt up to 15 Newton meters. If you need to remember these figures, if you need to, everything what we've done today, link below the video. There is a link to my website where it's description with images, diagrams, everything what we've done today. It's all there. So if you're gonna do a job yourself, you don't need to remember whole video. Just get to that website. It's in printable, available in printable way as well, so you can print out the PDF for you and just print out for you, take it to your garage and do it. You're welcome. When you tighten this bolt, don't tighten just one all the way to 15 meters, then another one, but tighten them like gradually, eventually, so the pump slides in properly, straight. So go around and do it tight. So you tighten it. That's 15 Newton meters, and do all the rest bolts. See, 15, and the last one is 15 as well. That's it. Let me introduce you new cambelt kit. It comes with a new tensioner with the pin already. Then it comes with a new guide roller, cambelt, and two nuts, one for the tensioner, one for the roller. So first what we're gonna do, we're gonna fit the new belt. So let's take our new belt. This pulley has a plate. Camshaft is locked. It's not going anywhere, but because of the elongated holes, it has a plate. This one it can move as well because it's only water pump. The crankshaft pulley is locked. So what we do first, we put it around the bottom, around the crankshaft pulley, and then put the rest up. We're gonna put the tensioner on first, and you see this sticking out bit on the back of a tensioner. This bit goes inside the engine block, so tensioner bottom bit doesn't spin. So you need to match this rectangular claw, should I say, and with that hole, see in here, rectangular hole in the engine block. So put it in there. In your cambelt kit, you normally have two nuts, one for the tensioner roller, another one for the guide roller. They are both M8 thread on inside, but one is 15 millimeter on the outside, another 13. So the biggest one, 15 millimeter, goes on a tensioner because it's kind of important. So let's put this 15 millimeter nut on the top of it. So before we put the belt around here, we want to bring this tensioner maximum away position, as you remember what we've done before we take it off. So with the pin in, you want to put 6 millimeter hex Allen. With the pin in, this is the maximum away position, and you want to tighten this bolt. So move it clockwise with the pin in, with the hex Allen, move it clockwise as far away as it goes, and then secure it with this 15mm nut. Not too strong, just good enough to hold it in its place. So in this position, it's maximum weight position. Now we can fit the belt. We fit our belt around everywhere here, and the way you want to fit it, you see these bolts in the elongated holes. They should stay, because they can move either way, they should stay in the middle, so you can adjust your belt later, adjust the camshaft later. So as you can see, they have like elongated holes, and you want these bolts be in the middle of these elongated holes. If the way you fit it, they're not in the middle, refit it again. Now we finally fit the belt. As you can see, either of the gap sticks out on each side. So if it's too much to one side or to another, you can take the belt off and then add one tooth or skip one tooth. Just turn the pulley slightly so it adds on, skips one tooth, and then so you're happy that the bolts are right in the middle of the elongated holes. Some cambelt kits, they come with the new bolts. So if your cambelt kit comes with a new bolt, you can replace the bolts as well. Our doesn't, so we don't. Okay, let's take our new guide roller and put it here and secure it with 13mm nut, and we can tighten this nut. For the guide roller is tightening torque is 22 Newton meters. So let's tighten it to 22 Newton meters. So 22 Newton meters for this one. Now we want to put tensioner into the tension. So now it's detension to maximum. We're gonna undo this nut. It's gonna spring back a little bit, as you can see. We can take this pin out, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take this nut off, try not to lose it. A bit more security for the tensioner, we want to put tiny bit of thread lock on it, so that we know that nut won't go anywhere. So now we'll put this 15mm nut on the top. And what we want to do now, to put it to right tension, you apply your 6mm hex Allen key, and then you turn it, and it's more and more tension. So you see this metal arrow, it needs to be in the middle of this gap. So as you can see, this metal arrow should go into middle of this gap, and because we are going to adjust it, go slightly past the middle, so it's supposed to be like just on the other side of the gap, like this. And in this position, we take our 15mm socket and tighten this nut. Just strong enough to hold it. Now we take our torque wrench, and this is important. It has to be set to the correct torque, and the torque for it is 20 Newton meters. This is electronic, as you can see, it's gone on 20. 20.3 is okay anyway. And after that, you want to turn it 45 degrees further. So from the top position, we're going to turn it another 45 degrees. Like that. Now it's proper. So as you can see, most of top covers will show you the tension of this nut, 20 Newton meters plus 45 degrees. You can't see it properly probably with this light, but it does say 20 Newton meters plus 45 degrees. You'll find it on your cambelt cover. What we're going to do, this torque wrench is set for 20 Newton meters, so let's tighten this bolt. to 20 Newton meters. And take the pin out. If it doesn't want to come out, take the crankshaft locker out. Crankshaft locker. And then we take our 19mm splint socket. We can turn it either way a little bit, just to give it a bit more play so it comes out eventually. If that doesn't help, you can use universal pulley holder. Comes like this. Come here, I'll show you this. It has different heads. It costs about 20 quid, but it's good tool to have or borrow it from someone. So it's actually, you put these pins inside your camshaft, you turn it a bit, and then it just comes out slowly but surely. There we go. Okay, the pin is out. Now our cambelt is fit. Everything that had to be done is done. The water pump, pulleys and everything. Now we want to make sure that it's adjusted properly. That mark and this mark and these pins all can match. For that, we'll do the full turn of the camshaft, which means that we need to turn the crankshaft twice. So do 2 rotations of the crankshaft and bring it back again to the service position. Take our 19mm 12-sided splint head, and now we can turn. Once you're turning the engine, it should feel the same way as the old cambelt. It's a bit tough in places because still in the pistons go up and down, there is compression going on, so it's still, you have some resistance. But if it feels jammy, if it feels like it doesn't want to go anywhere, so stop and check what can be wrong. Also, for that tensioner, double check, triple check that this sticking out bit sits in a rectangular bit. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It sits there. Once you've done these 2 turns, you lock the crankshaft. Before you lock the crankshaft, make sure it goes clockwise before being locked. Try to fit the pin. If it fits, it doesn't want to go in, so we can adjust it. Because these bolts have the elongated holes, we can adjust it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to remove this crankshaft locker. So what you do, you turn this anti-clockwise a bit so it goes past the locking point, and then you try to fill that hole. When you turn it clockwise, this pin should slide in once it reaches the hole. So you turn it so the pin can go in. Once it's in, now we need to adjust the crankshaft to this position. So what we're going to do now, we're going to loosen these 3 bolts, and it's recommended to use counter hold. So just make sure that when you loosen them, the pulley doesn't go anywhere, not moves even a little bit. So with these bolts loose, that means this pulley can have a play. So what we're doing, we're pushing this anti-clockwise. The camshaft is locked, you see it's not moving anywhere. So because we need to lock the crankshaft while turning clockwise, that's why we went so far anti-clockwise. We take our locker and apply it when it should go, when mark matches mark, and then turn it clockwise till you can lock it. So when crankshaft locked, mark matches mark. We have camshaft locked as well, so all we need to do is just tighten these bolts 20 Newton meters. We'll do another 45 degrees by the manual, because manual says not only 20 Newton meters but 45 degrees to make sure nothing moves. So everything is in line now. We only need to tighten these bolts, and we'll do another 2 turns and see if we can fit the pins. If we're not satisfied, we'll do it again, realign again. When you're tightening this, use counter hold as well, so your pulley doesn't go anywhere. Last 20. Tighten them a little more. So with the bolts tight, let's take our pins out. Do another full turn of the camshaft, which means 2 turns of the crankshaft, and then lock the crankshaft and see if this one will go in. You will feel compression building up and going, because valves opening and closing, pistons going up and down inside there, so you'll have some resistance. Then wait till this bit where the teeth goes up again. After 2 turns, lock it again. Make sure it goes clockwise before you lock it. Mark matches mark. And now is the moment of truth. We want to make sure that this pin goes in. And as you can see, tight, but it goes in all the way. Perfect. That means this cam belt is done. After 2 turns, it's still online. We can fit pins without messing around. So what we want to do now is put covers back on, put everything back together, and top up the coolant. Don't forget to close this coolant drain till it clicks. It just goes and click. So it's all closed now. Before we put covers back on our cam belt, while we can see the water pump while it's exposed, to make sure it's not leaking or anything, it sits in properly, I'm gonna pour the coolant in. It should be squashed with water, 50-50. It can be slightly higher than that. Some do 75 coolant and 25 water. So if you're topping up with water or anything, and it definitely not freezes in a frost conditions, so we're gonna pour, because we drain the radiator as well. Normally they pour 2 liters of coolant and top up rest with water. We're gonna pour 3 liters. Because that's the whole system is supposed to be 6 liters. So we're gonna pour 3 liters of coolant, even though there's still a little bit left, and then top it up rest with water and see if it leaks. Right, the water pump, it looks all happy, no leaks or anything. The only traces of water is because we took the water out before. So we can put the covers back on. Let's put the bottom covers. Now let's put bottom cover, very bottom, then another one overlapping at the top. Put the cover on. Then put the top cover back on. We have it on already. Tightening torques for these bolts is 9 Newton meters. If it's too much to remember for you, remember there is a link below this video to full description, printable format as well with images. So yeah, this one we didn't move. We didn't remove the tensioner for auxiliary belt, but as you can see we can take out and put in cover. So 2 covers at the bottom, and then we'll put the top cover. Then we put the top cover back on. Make sure it sits happy everywhere it should go. At the bottom it's overlapping the bottom cover, as you can see. So make sure you put it so it's happy, sit everywhere. And then we have put this tensioner on, 13mm bolt inside there, so tensioner is on. Next thing we do is put the vibration damper, the pulley that spins all your auxiliary belts. It has 5 holes in it, 4 for the bolts and 1 for the pin. So on the camshaft pulley there will be pin, which is currently under here, so you can't see it, but there is like a little metal pin. Let me show you. This is the pin, so you make sure you match that hole with the pin. So this is what it should look like. 4 bolts in, tightening torque is 10 Newton meters plus 90 degrees further, and as you can see this pin is in here, matching this hole, so it's all nice and straight. What we want to do now, put the fan on and the auxiliary belt. Long story short, we put the fan on with this pulley, secured with a 8mm Allen bolt from inside. Put the belt accordingly to diagram on my website, link below the video. And now my friend is holding the auxiliary belt before we put around the alternator. So I'm going to apply 19mm here to decrease tension, and he's going to put it around the alternator. So I'm turning it anti-clockwise. The tension is lower now, so he can fit the belt around all pulleys. Before you let it go, make sure that belt sits around all pulleys straight, not hinging out anywhere. So make sure it's all nice and straight. Power steering pump, so it's all straight. Now we're ready to put another belt. Let's have a look at the other auxiliary belt, where it should go. This is vibration damper, comes from the crankshaft. This is AC compressor, and this is tensioner. This tensioner doesn't have a spring, so what you do, there are 2 6mm Allen bolts, this one here and this one here. You apply 17mm torque wrench if you have a torque wrench, turn it to 13 Newton meters, and then tighten these 2 bolts where the belt is on. So it's a simple system. It doesn't have a spring, so you put tension on the tensioner, because it can go up and down, because this is an elongated hole here. So you apply some tension when the belt is on, supposed to be 13 Newton meters, and then tighten up these bolts. So simple. I'm gonna put it. You got the idea. I'm not gonna show you that. We put the auxiliary belts on. All we got to do now is just to bring the forward back on, put these bolts in, or everything pretty much what this beginning of the video it would just do in reverse sequence. I'm not gonna bore you with that. It's pretty simple task. Just slide it back in, put everything where it was, and off you go. Before you go, start the engine. We started it already, it works fine. Check the coolant level. Keep checking the coolant level, because coolant needs to go everywhere it needs to go. When you start your car, bring it to working temperature, so thermostat opens and it brings coolant to the radiator. Also put your heating on full heat if you have dual zone alignment control, both sides, so the coolant goes into your heating system. So make sure that coolant goes everywhere it needs to go, and then top up if necessary. Thank you for watching. More stuff about this car, some other cars, see my website, wheelsandmotors.com. See you there.